Hello all, welcome back to Time to Dice Character Creation, where we make your favorite fictional characters in Pathfinder Starfighter 2nd Edition. Today, we're making Kakashi of the Sharingan. When you follow the path of a ninja, you sign up to lose people along the way, and Kakashi knows this pain more than most, having lost nearly everyone he loved to war. His mother died when he was very young, and after his father chose to rescue his teammates rather than complete a mission, he was disgraced and driven to take his own life. But life wasn't finished kicking Kakashi in the gut. He went on to lose both of his teammates and even his mentor during mission. All of this tragedy led Kakashi to do what any emotionally well-adjusted person would. Cut off all attachments and throw himself wholeheartedly into his work. And to his credit, he was pretty good at it. Like, really good. Thanks to the Sharingan that Kakashi inherited from his fallen friend Obito, Kakashi's prodigious talent was amplified by one of the biggest plot devices in the entire Naruto world. Not only did Kakashi rise to the rank of Jonin, but he eventually became the 6th Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village. Along the way, he even managed to reopen his heart and let people back in. But you're not here for a therapy session. You're here for the mechanics. So beware of spoilers, and without further ado, let's get started. So, what do we need to make the copy ninja? The first ability that we see from the Sharingan is its power to read an opponent's movements and perfectly replicate them, even allowing the user to copy enemy jutsu faster than the enemy can perform them. Later, the Sharingan unlocks some of its more overpowered techniques, like the ability to warp objects or people into an alternate dimension. And of course, we can't forget about Kakashi's natural talents, his mastery in hand-to-hand combat, and expert use of ninja tools of all shapes and sizes. Kakashi is a human, so we'll go with the human ancestry. That gives us 8 hit points, a medium size, and an attribute boost with dexterity and intelligence. Wrap that up with a 25-foot movement speed, and we've got a pretty standard human character. Well, as standard as the guy with the magic eyeball of doom can be. For our heritage, we'll take Versatile Human to pick up the Fleet feat, giving us an extra 5 feet of movement on all of our strides. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this doesn't need much explanation. Ninja are fast. For our background, we'll take War Orphan, for another boost of dexterity and intelligence, along with training in thievery and underworld lore. Sure, Kakashi's father passed away when he was a little bit older, but I'm not going to debate the exact age that disqualifies someone from being an orphan. The background also gives us the Dirty Trick skill feat, which perfectly fits some of Kakashi's more harmless ninja pranks. With it, we can use a sly trick to hinder a foe's movement, like teleporting behind an enemy for the infamous 1,000 Years of Death. We attempt a thievery check against the target's reflex DC. On a critical success, the target becomes Clumsy 1 until they use an interact action to fix the problem. On a success, the target's also Clumsy 1, but the condition automatically ends after a round. And on a critical failure, our trick backfires and we fall prone. For our class, knowing over 1,000 jutsu, which is pretty much the Naruto version of spells, sounds like a wizard to me, but Kakashi is a little too martially inclined for such a frail class. Luckily, Paizo's newest book, Battle Cry, has us covered with the new War Mage class archetype. We still only get 6 hit points plus our Constitution modifier per level, so durability is a little bit limited, but that actually fits the character pretty well. Long drawn out fights have never been Kakashi's strong suit. We only get training and perception, which makes sense for the guy who always has one eye covered. Our fortitude and reflex saves are also trained, but in exchange, we get expert and will saves. I'm not that thrilled about the lackluster reflex save, but we'll pick up enough defensive utility to make up for it. For our skills, all wizards get Arcana training, but for Kakashi, we'll also pick up acrobatics and athletics to be more in shape than your average wizard, diplomacy and society for ruling as the village's Hokage, nature for having your very own pack of ninja dogs, and stealth because, well, ninja. Wizards get training in all simple weapons, and war mages treat all martial weapons as simple weapons, letting us use a wide array of ninja tools. Sure, we only get up to expert proficiency, but that's okay. Let's be honest, unless you have a freaky bowl cut, you're not winning any fights with taijutsu alone in the Naruto world. Finally, as a war mage, we can pick up the medium armor, perfect for those padded vest things that all ninjas seem to wear. Let's cover Kakashi's attributes, shall we? Strength starts at a +1. Kakashi is definitely in shape, but whereas all Marvel characters have super strength, all Naruto characters have to have super speed. Dexterity is a +3. As mentioned, this reflects his super speed and agility. Constitution is a +0. Don't worry about beefing this up, most Naruto characters have an insta-kill move anyways. Intelligence is at +4. Kakashi's one of the smartest characters around, and trust me, it shows. Wisdom clocks in at a +1, which could be higher, but we don't really need it for this build. And Charisma clocks in at +0. Kakashi has good leadership skills, but he relies more on experience than charm or likability. All war mages must use battle magic as their arcane school, giving us some combat-themed spells and the Force Bolt focus spell. This spell fires an arrow-shaped bolt of force that automatically hits their target within 30 feet, and deals a small amount of force damage. Think of it as throwing a kunai after using the Sharingan to guarantee a hit. Level 1 War Mages also gain the War Magic feature, letting us take a free action once per round at the start of our turn to exchange any prepared spell for a Sure Strike spell heightened to the same level as their place spell. And the Shield Block feature allows us to use a raised shield to reduce incoming physical damage by that shield's hardness. The closest Kakashi comes to this is blocking attacks with a kunai, so that's the flavor we'll have to go with. For our level 1 Ancestry feat, we'll pick up Natural Ambition to get the Counterspell Wizard feat. When a creature we see casts a spell that we have prepared, we can expend that prepared spell slot to disrupt the enemy spell. We lose the spell slot as if we had cast the spell ourselves, then attempt a counteract check against the triggering spell. Everyone knows that if you throw a fireball at another fireball, anime logic dictates that they cancel each other out and nobody gets hurt. Now, let's cover the fun part, spells. We get 5 cantrips and 3 spells of every rank, plus an extra bonus spell per rank from our Arcane School. Usually these extra spells are the weakest part of builds, since we're forced to take spells that may not fit the build, but Kakashi is the copy ninja of 1,000 jutsu, even though we only see him use about 10, so we can safely assume he's using the rest off screen. For our cantrips, Telekinetic Projectile is basically throw a ninja tool at a creature within 30 feet. We make a basic spell attack roll, dealing bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage depending on the tool used. Elemental Counter uses chakra of an opposing element to disrupt enemy spellcasters. When we, or a creature within 60 feet, roll a saving throw against a spell with an earth, fire, metal, plant, water, or wood trait, or are targeted by a spell attack with that trait, we can expend a spell slot of a countering element. We lose the slot as if we had cast the spell, and then attempt a counteract check against the enemy spell. For the spell, plant and wood counters earth counters water counters fire counters metal, and metal counters plant or wood. Ignition is basic fire style jutsu, targeting a creature within 30 feet with a spell attack roll against its AC. On a hit, the target takes fire damage. If we are within melee reach, we can make the melee spell attack instead, dealing d6s instead of d4s for damage. On a critical success, the target takes double damage and catches fire for persistent fire damage. Figment shows Kakashi's skill in genjutsu, creating a simple sound or vision within 30 feet that's sustained as long as we concentrate. Sounds have the auditory trait, but can't include intelligible words or music. Visions have the visual trait, fit within a 5-foot cube, and appear crude if viewed up close. When we cast or sustain this spell, we can attempt to create a diversion check, gaining a +2 circumstance bonus to deception. But if that diversion check fails, the illusion is automatically disbelieved. Needle Dart is another throw ninja tool spell, but this one inflicts bleed damage. Launch 3 needles at a creature within 60 feet. On a successful spell attack roll, we deal piercing damage. The needles inherit any properties of any metal that we're currently wielding, i.e. cold iron needles deal extra damage against the relevant foes. The needles return to us after we make an attack, and our critical success not only doubles the damage, but also inflicts persistent bleed damage. Finally, we get Live Wire, letting us run our lightning nature chakra through a metal cable. Make a spell attack roll against a target within 30 feet, dealing slashing and electricity damage on a success. On our critical success, not only does it deal double damage, but we also deal persistent electricity damage, as the foe gets tangled in our cord. For our rank 1 spells, Sure Strike never needs to be prepared, but is always a free action away. It lets us use the Sharingan to read a target's movements, making our next attack a little more accurate. We roll our next attack roll twice and take the better result, and ignore any circumstance penalties or flat checks made from concealment or hiding. Afterward, we're temporarily immune to Sure Strike for 10 minutes, while our chakra replenishes. Breathe Fire is our battle magic spell, letting us exhale a 15-foot cone of flame from our mouth, dealing fire damage to all creatures in the area with a basic reflex save. Simple, but effective. Jump lets us leap to any space within 30 feet, ignoring any difficult terrain or battlefield hazards in our way. Summon Animal lets us summon a ninja dog to fight, track prey, or relay a message. Technically, we could also use this to summon other animals, but that's not really in character. Shocking Grasp will be our Shidori. We envelop our hands in lightning and make a melee spell attack. On a hit, the target takes electricity damage. If the target is made of or is wearing metal, we gain a +1 bonus to the attack roll and deal persistent electricity damage. Yeah, it feels a little weird for Shidori to be a first rank spell, but hey, on the bright side, it means we get one of Kakashi's signature abilities right from level 1. And yes, we're still at level 1. This video might take a while. At level 2, we gain the War Mage dedication, letting us add a bit of tactical edge to our spells. Whenever we cast a non-cantrip area damage spell, we can choose a number of targets equal to our intelligence modifier who failed their saving throw, and each of those targets are moved 10 feet from their original position, letting us deal damage and manipulate battlefield positioning at the same time. Level 2 also gives us a skill feat, and for Kakashi, Catfall fits perfectly. This lets us treat all falls as 10 feet shorter, which increases as we improve in acrobatics. Once we reach Expert, spells are treated as 25 feet shorter. On Master, they're 50 feet shorter. And at Legendary Acrobatics, we always land on our feet and take no damage, no matter the height. Ninjas spend a lot of time leaping on rooftops and tree branches, so we definitely don't want any embarrassing missteps. We gain Incredible Initiative at level 3, giving us a +2 circumstance bonus to all initiative checks. The advantage is pretty obvious. With an all-seeing mystical eye, you can react to enemy ambushes before they've even drawn their weapons. Beyond that, level 3 doesn't offer us much mechanically. At least it wouldn't if it weren't for our new second-ranked spells. Battle Magic gives us the Hidden Mist Jutsu, represented by the spell Mist. With this, we can create a 20-foot burst of fog that gives all creatures inside concealment. Gecko Grip lets us channel our chakra to walk up vertical surfaces, getting a climb speed equal to our land speed. Perfect for scaling walls or trees when the situation calls for it. Mirror Image perfectly embodies Kakashi's Shadow Clone Jutsu. 3 illusory images swirl around us, causing attacks to potentially strike an image rather than the real Kakashi. When all 3 images remain, there's a 1 in 4 chance of being hit. With 2 images, that's 1 in 3. When an image is struck, it's destroyed. Attacks that fail to hit our AC but don't critically fail still destroy an image without harming us, and a critical success against an image destroys it and treats the attack against us as a success. Finally, Humanoid Form represents Transformation Jutsu, allowing us to disguise ourselves as a small or medium humanoid. Our size and reach adjust if we get smaller, but our statistics remain unchanged. While in humanoid form, we gain a +1 status bonus to deception checks to appear as a generic member of the chosen ancestor. We'll pick up Spell Prodigy at level 4, letting us learn spells with extreme efficiency. This feat grants us the Magical Shorthand skill feat, allowing us to learn any spell in just 10 minutes. Additionally, when we critically fail to learn a spell, it only counts as a failure, meaning we're not locked out of trying again. Honestly, 10 minutes is still a long time for someone like Kakashi, but we work with what we've got. We also get the Combat Climber skill feat, which lets us keep a hand free while climbing, and prevents us from being caught off guard. Technically, we already got similar benefits from Gecko Grip, but Combat Climber gives us a little bit of vertical combat flexibility without using a spell slot. So it's perfect if you're conserving chakra, or just don't want to waste the action economy casting Gecko Grip. Level 5 wizards get Magical Fortitude, giving us expert proficiency in fortitude saves. We also get the General Training Ancestry feat, letting us pick up Toughness, which grants us additional hit points equal to our level, and reduces the DC of any recovery checks by 1. This gives Kakashi a little bit more durability, though we all know he's a better dodging character than tanking character. For our 3rd rank spells, Battle Magic provides Fireball, which we can use to replicate Fireball Jutsu. Go figure. We unleash a roaring blast of fire at a designated spot within 500 feet, creating a 20-foot burst that deals fire damage to everything inside with a basic reflex save. Similarly, Lightning Bolt works the same way, but instead of a ball of fire, it's a bolt of lightning. We shoot this bolt in a 120-foot line from our hand. Creatures in the path make a basic reflex save, or take electricity damage. Wall of Water lets us create a wall of water, original spell names for the wind. The wall is a straight line, 60 feet long, 10 feet high, and 5 feet thick, and it lasts for a minute. Non-magical fires of that size or smaller are instantly extinguished, and magical fires are counteracted. Bludgeoning and slashing projectiles cannot pass through the wall, and piercing projectiles have their range increments halved. Creatures moving through the water must swim and follow aquatic combat rules, meaning attacks targeting them get a -2 circumstance penalty for bludgeoning or slashing melee strikes. Finally, Wooden Double makes a great substitution jutsu. When we are critically hit by a damaging effect or strike, a wooden double appears in our place to absorb the blow. We take a step action, as a roughly humanoid wooden block with hardness 5 and 20 hit points occupies the same space that we left. If the block is destroyed, any excess damage carries over to us, and after absorbing the hit, the wooden block collapses into splinters and dust. One problem with being a war mage is that casting spells in melee almost guarantees provoking a couple of reactive strikes. To handle this, we'll take steady spellcasting at level 6, which helps us resist losing our spells. If a reaction would disrupt our spellcasting, we attempt a DC 15 flat check. On a success, our action isn't disrupted. This doesn't prevent enemies from dealing damage to us, but at least we can get off spells in retaliation. We also pick up the Subtle Theft skill feat. When we successfully steal something, observers take a -2 surface penalty to their perception DCs to detect the theft. Additionally, if we create diversion using deception, performing a single palm an object or steal action doesn't break our undetected condition. It's often lost in the gravitas of the show, but at the end of the day, these characters are still supposed to be ninja. Basic stealth and trickery remain the backbone of their training. Level 7 wizards get Expert Spellcaster, boosting our spellcasting proficiency. We also take the Feather Step General feat, letting us step out of an enemy reach, even in difficult terrain. We're still a little afraid of reactive strikes, so if we could step out of an enemy's range before launching our Lightning Bolt, or any other aggressive spell, that'd be good. Another odd level, another new set of spells. Weapon Storm from Battle Magic lets us throw an obscene number of kunai all at once. When we swing a weapon that we're holding, it magically multiplies into duplicates that strike all creatures in a 30-foot cone or a 10-foot emanation. Creatures in that area take 4 dice of damage, matching our weapon's type and die size. On a critical failure, the target takes double damage as usual and suffers the weapon's critical specialization effect. Unlike in the show, this means our ninja tools can actually do something for once. Enhanced Senses lets us activate our Sharingan, granting low light vision and doubling the range of all of our imprecise senses. If we already have low light vision, we instead gain dark vision, making it easier to spot enemies in any environment. Grasping Earth acts as a headhunter style jutsu. We dive into the ground to grab and bury creatures within a 10-foot burst. Each creature in the area when the spell is cast, and each one that ends their turn while the spell is sustained, must make a fortitude save. On a failure, that creature is grabbed by the earth, and on a critical failure, it becomes restrained entirely. Whenever we use an action to sustain the spell, creatures grabbed by the earth take bludgeoning damage, and if they're restrained, they take double damage. As always, creatures can attempt to escape against their spell DC. Finally, Translocate lets us teleport to any location within 120 feet that we can see. The relatively short range and line of sight requirement makes this more of a substitution tactic than a Kamiwi style teleport, but it still gets the job done when we need a quick escape or a sudden attack from behind. At level 8, we pick up the Knowledge is Power class feat. Kakashi is one of the smartest characters in the world, so it only makes sense to put those big brains to work. When we critically succeed at a recall knowledge check about a creature, we can use that insight to impose a -1 circumstance penalty on the creature's next AC or saving throw against their next attack or spell. And the creature also suffers the same penalty on its next attack against us. We can even share this knowledge with our allies, granting them the same benefits to their attacks or spells. We also gain the Tumbling Depth skill feat. When we critically succeed to tumble through an enemy space, we can attempt to steal an item from them as a reaction. Our tumbling gives us a +1 circumstance bonus to the thievery check, making it a little harder for the enemy to track us. We can take any immediately accessible item of light or negligible bulk, like a potion or coin purse attached to their belt. But as usual, we can't grab items in containers or something that the foe is actively wielding. For those, we'll still need disarm action. At level 9, we get multi-talented, letting us pick up the Monk dedication, turning our D4 punches into D6s. It's not enough to keep up with Might Guy by any means, but it definitely narrows the gap. We also get Reflex Expertise and access to 5th rank spells. Our battle magic spell is Impaling Spike, which, while not something we've seen Kakashi perform in the show, is undeniably cool. We conjure a cold iron spike from the ground beneath the target within 30 feet, forcing them to make a basic reflex save against piercing damage. On a failure, the spike impales a non-vital body part. The target then takes additional damage each turn if they're weak to cold iron. On a critical failure, the strike targets a vital area, dealing double damage and leaving them off guard as long as they're impaled. We also gain Wall of Stone, allowing us to conjure a solid wall up to 120 feet long, 20 feet high, and 1 inch thick, shaping it along our path in 5-foot increments. This wall can form stairs or bridges, but must be created in an unbroken open space that doesn't intersect any creatures or objects. Of course, the wall is immune to critical hits and precision damage, but if it is destroyed, the rubble becomes difficult terrain. Banishment represents our first overpowered Mangekyo Sharingan ability. We can send a creature not on its home plane back to that plane, forcing a will save. On a failure, the target is banished, and on a critical failure, the target is still banished and can't return for a week. It's a niche approximation of the insta-kill effect from the show, but it gets the flavor across. Finally, Elemental Breath lets us unleash a devastating elemental attack within a 60-foot cone. The element is chosen randomly unless we spend 3 actions to cast a spell, in which case we can select the element, determining both the damage type and any conditions inflicted on a failed save. At level 10, we gain Quickened Casting, allowing us to once per day shave off an action from any spell that's at least 2 ranks below our maximum spell rank. Pathfinder doesn't run on the law of anime time, so sometimes you have to react quickly. You can't just give a speech off screen. To help us react even faster, we'll also pick up the Recognize Spell skill feat. When a creature casts a spell that we can see, we can attempt to identify it as a reaction. If we're trained in the appropriate tradition, we automatically identify common second rank spells or lower. This rank limit increases to rank 4 if we're expert, 6 if we're master, and 10 if we're legendary. On a critical success, we recognize the spell well enough to gain a +1 circumstance bonus to our saving throw or AC against it. Level 11 wizards gain Perception and Weapon Expertise, as well as the general feat, Canny Acumen, which will eventually push our Perception proficiency to Master once we reach level 17, just slightly below a true Uchiha. For our 6th rank spells, Chain Lightning from Battle Magic lets us unleash a bolt of electricity to a creature within 500 feet, dealing electricity damage with a basic reflex save. The bolt then arcs to an additional creature within 30 feet of the original target, continuing to jump until no creatures remain in range, or a creature critically succeeds their reflex save. Explosive Barrage lets us hurl multiple rapid-fire mini-fireballs across a wide area. The initial explosion detonates a 20-foot burst, followed by 1d4 smaller 5-feet bursts within 100 feet. Each creature in any of these bursts takes fire and sonic damage with a basic fortitude save, and on a failure, they're also deafened for a minute. True Sight enhances the Sharingan's Genjutsu detection abilities. When activated for the next 10 minutes, we see things within 60 feet as they truly are. The GM secretly rolls a counteract check against any illusion, morph, or polymorph effects in the area. This lets us see through effects without actually dispelling them. For example, if we reveal a creature's true form, it won't automatically turn them back from the bear they're currently transformed into. Finally, Unexpected Transposition upgrades our substitution jutsu. When targeted by an enemy strike, we can attempt to instantly swap positions with another creature within 30 feet. Willing creatures switch automatically, while unwilling creatures must attempt a will save. If successful, the triggering attack is resolved against a new target instead of us, and both creatures are temporarily immune for Unexpected Transposition for 1 minute. Clever Counterspell at level 12 allows us to counteract enemy spells using our own spells that either share a trait with the target or would logically counter that enemy's spell, rather than needing an exact match. Depending how lenient your GM is, this can let you, for example, neutralize an enemy's lightning style jutsu with an earth-based spell, effectively grounding them mid-fight. For our skill feat, we'll pick up Quick Recognition, enhancing our recognized spell ability. We can now use it once per round as a free action rather than a reaction, letting us identify and respond to 2 spells per round instead of 1. This keeps Kakashi's reflexes sharp and ensures that he stays one step ahead of any magical threats. At level 13, we can advance General Training, letting us pick up the Rolling Landing skill feat. This lets us turn the tables on foes who think they can knock us out of the treetops. If we fall and take no damage, thanks to Catfall, we can use our reaction to roll with the landing and step. And since we're master in acrobatics, instead of stepping, we move up to our full speed. And once we reach legendary in acrobatics, this strike won't even provoke reactions. Picture it. An enemy tries to send us tumbling, only for one reaction to put us right in their face. Perfect for combining with weapon specialization to maximize damage on all of our strikes. Or we can use this to get into better position for some of our new 7th rank spells, like True Target, which works like Sure Strike, but for our allies as well as ourselves. We target up to 4 creatures within 60 feet. The first time each target makes an attack roll against a designated creature, they roll twice and use the better result, ignoring the circumstance penalties and flat checks from concealment or hidden. Interplanetary Teleport allows up to 8 willing creatures within 5 feet to travel with us to another plane, such as the Plane of Fire, the Netherworld, or the Outer Rifts. This journey is imprecise, and we appear 1d20 times 25 miles from the last location of one of the travelers visiting that plane. Technically, this is a little stronger than Kakashi's Kamui ability, letting us access all sorts of planes, though as a trade-off, it takes 10 minutes to cast. Shadow Raid upgrades our Shadow Clone Jutsu ability. We conjure up to a 30-feet burst of shadow illusions within 120 feet. They strike our foes and obscure their vision. When cast, enemies in the area take bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage, each making a basic reflex or will save. The shadows persist for 1 minute, dealing additional damage to any enemy who finds itself in the spell's area at the end of their turn. Finally, Heaving Earth lets us strike the ground to send a wave through the surface toward a target within 120 feet, affecting all creatures in a line between us and that target. Each creature must attempt a reflex save against the spell's DC, or be pushed 10 feet away. When the wave reaches this target, it explodes, dealing bludgeoning damage with a basic reflex save, while still pushing the foe back. Level 14 gives us the Reflect Spell class feat, letting us turn our counter spells into a little bit of payback. Instead of simply negating an opponent's spell, we can throw it right back at them. Think of this as using the Sharingan to read incoming jutsu and then execute it faster than they can. We also pick up the Kip Up skill feat, letting us stand up from prone as a free action that doesn't provoke the reactions that we've been trying so desperately to avoid. Level 15 wizards gain Master Spellcaster, and a general feat which we'll use for Quick Jump, cutting the action cost of long and high jumps in half and eliminating the need for a running start. Perfect for any ninja who spends more time in the air than on solid ground. For our 7th rank spells, we'll start with Desiccate, which draws the moisture from a living creature within 500 feet, dealing void damage with a basic fortitude save. Creatures made of water or plants treat their saves as 1 degree worse, while beings of negligible moisture, such as earth elementals, are immune. Sure, Kakashi doesn't exactly do this in the show, but like I said, off-screen Kakashi has some crazy jutsu in his arsenal. Whirlpool conjures a swirling vortex of storming waves in a 20-foot radius, 20-foot tall cylinder within 500 feet, creating difficult terrain throughout. All creatures in the area take bludgeoning damage with a reflex save, and on subsequent rounds, the first time we sustain the spell, the water strikes again, forcing another save. On a failure, the creature takes full damage and is pulled 10 feet towards the center, and on a critical failure, they take double damage and is drawn fully to the center. This is similar to the giant vortex jutsu Kakashi used against Zabuza. Naruto and Paizo both get equal points for their creative naming. Mimic Spell uses the Sharingan to replicate Jutsu. We can learn the secrets of a spell by observing a creature within 120 feet to cast that spell. If we successfully counteract the triggering spell, we gain the ability to cast it without expending a spell slot. On our next turn, we can use the same number of actions as the original caster, choosing targets and using our own spell attack modifier or DC, with the spell heightened to the same rank as Mimic Spell. If we do not cast it by the end of our turn, the knowledge fades away unless we use an action to sustain it for up to a minute. Finally, Maze is a more fitting use of Kamui, transporting the target to an extra-dimensional Eldritch Maze. Once per turn, the target spends one action to attempt a survival or perception check against their spell DC to escape. On a critical success, they escape immediately. On a success, they make progress towards the escape, and on a critical failure, they lose any progress they may have made. Once they escape or the spell ends, the target is brought right back to where they started, which isn't exactly how Kamui works, but it keeps the spell from being a one-hit kill, which Paizo frowns upon. At 16th level, we pick up Monk Moves, granting us a plus 10 foot status bonus to our speed, as long as we aren't wearing armor. Hopefully we're still going light. After all, with our high dexterity, armor isn't doing much for us anyway. We also get Slippery Prey, removing the multiple attack penalty that we make from multiple escape attempts in the same round. Kakashi is a fighty character, and with our relatively low hit points, being grabbed is not a situation we want to linger in. This feat will ensure that we can slip out of trouble as efficiently as we get into it. At 17th level, humans can take the Bounce Back Ancestry feat, letting us come back from dying once per day without increasing our wounded value. No need for an extended bed rest after every major fight. And level 17 wizards get 9th rank spells. Starting with Falling Stars, we call down an array of 4 meteors within 500 feet, each dealing a 40-foot burst with a 10-foot central burst that can't overlap. We get to choose the type of star. Airburst deals sonic damage, asteroids deal fire damage, comets deal cold damage, and plasma deals electricity damage. Each central burst deals bludgeoning damage, and then explodes with the energy type of that particular star. Each affected creature must make a single basic reflex save, taking each type of damage only once, even if the bursts overlap. Yet another off-screen Kakashi move. Implosion is our stand-in for Kamui's more esoteric powers. We crush a corporeal target within 30 feet, causing it to collapse in on itself for 75 damage with a basic fortitude save. Each round we sustain the spell, we pick a new target, and we can't pick a target that's already been affected by the spell. Finally, Foresight grants us the Sharingan-like 6th Sense for 1 hour. We gain a +2 status bonus to all initiative checks, and we're never off guard against flanking or undetected foes. Additionally, we can roll twice on any saving throws to avoid against danger, and take the higher result, while hostile attacks or checks against us roll twice and take the lower result. Honestly, and I think I might be the first person to ever say this, I think the Sharingan might be a little bit too OP. At 18th level, we pick up Battlefield Arcana, letting us finally cast spells in melee range, without worrying about reactive strikes leaving us bedridden. If our next action is to cast a wizard spell, at least 2 ranks lower than our highest level spell slot, that action does not trigger reactive strikes. And on top of that, we gain the Swift Sneak skill feat, allowing us to move at full speed while sneaking, whether we're sneaking into combat or away from it. And at level 19, we get Foil Senses, letting us sneak around without worrying about enemy special senses. This means we can safely sleep past even elite reconnaissance ninja like Team 8 without breaking a sweat. On top of that, we reach Legendary Spellcaster and gain Archwizard Spellcraft, which gives us access to a 10th rank spell. The only one that really fits with something that Kakashi's been shown to do is Shadow Army, allowing us to fill the battlefield with dozens of semi-real shadow clones. This fills a 50-foot burst, and we can hide and sneak among our clones. Any enemy in the area when we cast a spell, or that ends their turn there, takes mental damage and bludgeoning damage, and may suffer a condition of our choice: Clumsy 2, Enfeeble 2, Off Guard, or Slowed 1. On a critical success, not only does the target take no damage, but it disbelieves the spell, improving all future saves against it, and it can distinguish us from our clones. But on a failure or worse, not only does it take the damage, but it also receives the chosen condition. Sure, filling the battlefield with shadow clones may be a bit of a Naruto-esque move, but even great mentors learn from their students every now and then. And finally, at level 20, we pick up Spell Shape Mastery, letting us apply any of our spell shape feats without spending an extra action. All one of them. Yeah, we're really only taking this to combine with Battlefield Arcana, which means we can unleash spells without ever worrying about enemy reactions, even when we don't have the action economy to contribute extra actions to our spells. And to cap off this build, we'll take Tumbling Teamwork, allowing an ally to step whenever we tumble through an enemy space. Truly mind-blowing stuff for the ninja who can fold space-time with his eyeball. And there you have it, Kakashi Hatake, fully realized in Pathfinder 2e. From his ninja roots to the legendary 6th Hokage, we've covered his speed, stealth, jutsu mastery, and even a few over-the-top Mangekyo Sharingan moves, making sure that he's as deadly and clever on the tabletop as he is in the anime. If you enjoyed this build, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you never miss a character creation deep dive. And if you've got a favorite character that you want to see brought to life in Pathfinder or Starfinder, drop it in the comments. We love seeing your suggestions, and who knows, your favorite character might just be our next video. So until next time, keep rolling high, and we'll catch you in the next one.